Well, today I'm going to go and finish up our series here for July. So we started our trek a few weeks ago with this idea that the theme would be about changing your thinking, changing your life. And so this is a very huge premise, if not really one of the main premises of new unity and new thought, that we have the power within us to be able to change our life and to change our circumstances. That we come from a lineage with our master teacher, Jesus, who essentially said that. If you recall, when healings took place, he never said, I healed y'all. Y'all can thank me later, send the check, right? He didn't say that. What did he say? He said, by your faith, you are healed. Do you all remember that? When he healed someone, he said that, and that is because it is within us. We have folks around us, like our spiritual teacher, Jesus, that held the high watch for people, that maybe opened up that space of facilitation, but it is us, it is within us that we do that healing by changing the understanding of our lives, of our bodies, of our circumstances. And we started this trek a couple weeks ago. I shared with you that Eric Butterworth, one of the ministers that's very well known, who was in New York City, he was on Oprah, wrote a book, Discover the Power Within You, that became a bestseller. He talked about when we see it right, we set it right. Meaning that when we start to see our lives or see the world or see beyond in the metaphysical realm, meaning beyond the physical circumstances, to the truth, the deeper truth, that we're able to have more peace in our lives. We're able to open up a space for prosperity and abundance. When we're struggling, when we're in that conflict, when we're in that strain, we don't have that ease. Ever think about when you are, now a lot of us may not are trying to water our lawns and our plants, because it's hot, y'all, right? It's hot. So, we need more moisture, we need more for our plants. And so, if you got that kink in that hose, are you going to water your grass? No. So it's allowing for that release, allowing for that flow. Because when in conflict, most of the time we were like overthink it. Who are the overthinkers in the room? Right? You're like overthinking, okay, it's like a battlefield, right? You're like, plan A, plan B, plan C. You're attacking it. You're kind of going at it, and the idea is to just step back, to allow, to co-create with the spiritual realm, with the universe, with the creator, the God of your understanding, the energy or essence of your understanding, and allowing it to be. Because when we push too hard, all we're doing is just straining and hurting ourselves. So we looked at that, about how our thoughts and our feelings create our reality, and how we need to learn how to have more of a mental mastery, and even a emotional mastery, so that we cannot let the world affect us so much. At every little thing, the news turns on and you hear something, you're like, oh, the day is gone. Shot. Who's been there? Right? Or you're driving and somebody, cuts you off, or your coworker in the morning says something, you're like, I hate my job. And there goes your day. So how do we do that? That's what we talked about last time. Today I want to talk to you all about this idea about cultivating your spiritual power. So we talked a little bit about how do we learn how to reframe our lives, how do we see differently, how do we set our lives right. But today it's really more a little bit of a deeper dive about how do we cultivate that spiritual power. A couple weeks ago, I was at the International New Thought Alliance Congress in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And I'm on the board of trustees for that organization. And so a lot of the big New Thought people from the different New Thought organizations, Center for Spiritual Living, Unity, our CEO and President, Reverend Shad Groverland, was there. So a lot of folks were there, and really amazing speakers. Those are available online, by the way, if you go to New Thought Media Network. All of the keynote speakers are available on Facebook Live as well as on YouTube. And so I encourage y'all to look at that. But the power of what they were talking about ultimately, the way I took it was how they learned to cultivate their power, how they stepped into unity or new thought, and how the message resonated with them, and how they went through the different steps to then ultimately, really become invested in a new way of living, and then become a minister or a spiritual teacher of some sort, or licensed unity teacher. It was beautiful to hear all of these stories of coming to power. A couple, last week, actually, just this week on Tuesday, we had a book signing called Sacred Rebel. The book is called Sacred Rebel, and it was a book reading by about 20 authors that wrote stories of their life. Who's here? A couple of us, I think, right? The stories were deep, y'all. The stories were tragic. There was discussion about abuse and rape and incest and being in the Vietnam War and seeing death and destruction and all of these things. And yet, despite all of this chaos, there was the ultimate story of being able to cultivate that power, to have freedom. How they were able to move through all of these quote unquote horrors in life to be able to find personal freedom and, you all, stand up on a stage and give their testimony, which was not easy. All of this. And then I think about in the last 7 weeks, I think it's 7 weeks today since I had this Bell's palsy, so the right side of my face has been paralyzed. And so, as you can probably tell, most people are like, oh, we can see the difference. Yes, I'm progressing, I'm moving forward. But part of the impetus for why I'm talking to you all about this today is the idea is that sometimes we do experience losses. I've lost right now, in this moment, some of the physicality, the emotion in my face. And that causes other kinds of losses, like I get tired more quickly. We never realize how much information our eyes are actually taking in. And so I wasn't able to, still can't fully kind of blink and close my eye. And so that allows for my eyes to get really tired. When I was at the INTA convention, I was sitting kind of in the first rows, and one of the speakers was talking, and I started to have where my eyes get tired, and I kind of start closing them to rest them and kind of touching them to just sort of massage them a little bit. And the speaker says, right, Christina? And I was like, oh, shoot, he thinks I'm sleeping. That was awkward. But losses, all of us have that in somewhere where we've lost something. Maybe we've lost a friendship or a romantic relationship, or we've lost some kind of bodily ability, or we've lost our job, or we've lost our sobriety. We've lost something, and yet how are we able to still be in that spiritual field and cultivate that power? Unity has 5 principles. Does anybody know that unity has 5 principles? All right. Who wants an A? Who knows the 5 principles? Uh-oh, shoot. I don't know. No worries. I'm going to tell you quickly. So the 5 principles kind of in kind of a little truncated form, in an easier form, is God is, I am, I think, I pray, and I live. God is. That just means that all there is in the universe is God. The things that we look at and see in the world is God too, even in chaos and even in death and destruction, that there is no place where Holy Spirit is not, that there is no place where God is not. Now, God doesn't create those things. This is where we're confused, because we have some other kind of dogma and theology and teachings that we're kind of placing into that. So part of it is tearing back the layers so that we understand that Spirit is always within us and around us. There is only good and there is only God. The second principle is that I am, meaning that I am a living, breathing expression of the divine, that I am that divine spark, that all that God is, I am. Jesus, our way shower, said that these things you will do and more, as he said to his disciples. I am not the example or the exception. I am just one of the examples. I am not the exception. You all can do this as well. In the Bible, that is what he's telling his disciples. So I am that spark. The third one, I think. And I'll add to this, I think and feel. And that's kind of what we talked about a few weeks ago with this change your thinking, change your life, that what you think about, you manifest. How you see the world, that's how it's going to show up in your life. If you think that the world is a nasty, brutish, and short, as I learned when I was in political philosophy, nasty, brutish, and short, then that's what's going to show out an out picture in your life. So how do we change that? The law of mind action to be able to create, produce different ways of thinking and being so that we can be at peace and have love and have joy. The fourth is about praying. All of the tools that we have, prayer, meditation, affirmation, it's about practicing the presence. It's about not just coming on Sunday and saying, okay, deuces, I'm out, check, did that for the week, I got my spiritual power. Sorry, folks, it doesn't really always work that way. It's about practicing whatever you can do, whatever you're called to do, in whatever way. It's your journey. I'm not saying you've got to read the Bible for hours. I'm not saying you've got to meditate for hours. It is your journey. Whatever makes sense for you, start small, but do something. It's about practicing and praying. And finally, it's about living the principles. It's not enough to say, well, I know I can repeat the 5 principles and and I can talk about the Bible, but are you living it? Are you living the truth? Are you sharing the truth with others? Are you engaging people? Are you coming here wanting to just suck and be and get? Or are you doing that as a way to share? This is important because sometimes, we do come from a little bit of a selfish culture, do we not? Right? Y'all think I'm crazy? That's okay. I'm okay with that. We do. We come from a culture that teaches us to be selfish, whether we realize it or not. It's about me, 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 me. Do for me. What is it in for me? Is there something in it for me? If there's not something in it for me, then I don't know that I want to do this. It's about being that channel and expression, that we're learning the principles. We're becoming and cultivating our power so that we can be a living testimony, so that we can bring others back, so we can throw that lifeline like, y'all, I've been there. I was there. But you can be here too. Come on. Join the spiritual party. This is what it's about. I want to focus, though, on the first 2. Because the most important thing that I want to convey to you all today is that your spiritual power cannot be fully cultivated until you understand that you are the I am. Principle number 2. Our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, in a writing called Vitalizing Power, sourced from within Vitalizing Power, says this: the first step, then, in the realization of life and health is to know that God is life, abundant, omnipresent, eternal. And the second step is to make connection with God life, for declaring our oneness with it. You are the offspring of God, of life. In life you live, move, and have your being. As the Father hath life in himself, even so gave he to the Son also to have life in himself. If you would have life from within, you must know yourself as the offspring, the child of God. Your life source is from within. So that flips it a whole lot, don't you think, from maybe some of the spiritual traditions we come from, where we're looking outside of ourselves, where we're looking for a God in the sky to be able to save us or to help us or to be able to help us transcend or to do the work for us. And what we learn here in Charles Fillmore's writing and in Unity and New Thought is that there might be, for some of us, if we believe that, there's spirit around us, outside of us, but it's not here to do for you. It will only co-create with you, and it will co-create with you at the level of consciousness that you are at. So if you are ready to upsize, if you are ready to up-level, Spirit will give you that little push. And if you're not, Spirit is going to step back. This is sometimes what we don't understand. There is life source within. We have that power and ability, and the only way that we can fully access that is by downloading deeply, uploading deeply the understanding that God, Holy Spirit, the universe, the allness, the oneness, the eternal, the mighty, the power lives within you and you and you and you. Regardless of where you came from, regardless of whether you were a darn drunk, regardless of whether you were an addict, regardless of whether you are still an addict, you are still the one. Download that one. When you download that one, even for just a little bit, your life will change. I guarantee you that. Now, Jesus said in John chapter 8, verses 31 to 34. This is when he's talking to the disciples. Do you all remember kind of what we know, like the little pithy phrase maybe that you can hear in popular culture, the truth will set you free, right? Well, that's Jesus telling his disciples. And then they kind of come back at him and say, well, we're free. What do you mean? Like, we're free. We don't have an issue with that. And he's saying to them, no, are you really free? Are the shackles of your mind gone? Or are you living in that unreality about who you really are as a child of the divine? So he calls the question on them to remind them that when you understand who you are, the truth will set you free. I want to go to, just for a little bit, to Emily Cady, Lessons of Truth. This is actually the first book that came out of Unity that was published in the 1800s. And she was a teacher in New Thought, and she was a person in the Unity movement. It's an amazing book. If you've never read it, do yourself the favor. It is really a seminal text. And in it, she's talking about how do you cultivate the power? How do you do that? One of them is what she's saying, what we've talked about already, is by using your words, about praying, about meditating, about practicing the presence. But one of the really interesting things that she says that is important when you understand that you are the I am, instead of all of it being mental, much of what you have to understand and feel and know is that it is intuitive. See, she says that we forget this at times, that even in New Thought, we're so focused on the power of the mind and cultivating the mind and the divine mind, we forget that the I am is in us and it comes forth as this essence, as this knowing, as this wisdom, as this spark within us. And so part of what she suggests to people is to start to cultivate your wisdom through intuition. Do you ever have a feeling like, God, I need to call that person. And then you call someone and they're in need or they're struggling or they're having a hard time. Has anyone been there? Or you've called someone, you felt somebody needed a call, or something said, go there. And maybe there was a job that was waiting for you. Or you followed that gut reaction. There is a reason why in Chinese medicine, the gut is considered the second brain because it's processing the information. This is your chi center. Your energetic resonance is right here. And so Emily Cady tells us we have to be in unison. We have to trust and develop the intuition, not just the mental side. The intellect and the intuition travel together, but intuition guides. When you feel something at that gut level, what do y'all Southerners say? Like in your bones, right? When you feel it in your bones, you know it to be true because it's true, to be true because it's true, and it's going to be true, and it is true. Yes or no? You have to feel it because the intellect sometimes can trip you up. It can, kind of put you a little okey-doke fake thing going on. But the intuition will never misguide you. Emily Cady talks about the intuition and all that comes from that as being the secret place of the Most High. It's that place between our consciousness and God. That place within us where this resides, it is sort of that glue force within us. I want to also say to you all, when we think about cultivating intuition, we do it in many ways, but it comes slowly. You can probably look online and read things about how to cultivate your intuition, but all I want to tell you here and now is that it is a slow process, but it is a process that will come when you open yourselves up to knowing Spirit, to being Spirit, to living Spirit, and to feeling Spirit. And it'll come in the smallest ways, but you have to check yourself in those small ways. Like the call came and, oh, wow, name it. That was my intuition telling me. So as you learn to identify it, it starts to open. It's like almost a building block so that the bigger things in life, do I need to make a cataclysmic life decision? Well, I've already practiced it. I've already acknowledged it. I've already built this up to know that intuition is spot on. Do y'all understand what I'm saying here? It is a building process. When we understand that we have that intuition, when we understand that we have the power within us, we begin to understand that we also have the ability to help shape and change the universe, to help shape and change ourselves, and to hold space for others so that they may change themselves. I don't know about you all, if in your unity journey or if in your new thought journey to date, you hear a lot about the concept of miracles or manifestations or demonstrations. I know back in the day we used to talk a lot about that, and I feel like that's kind of been gutted out, literally, of what we do here in New Thought. And so I'm going to invite everyone to really allow for the process to bring that back. Because we think of those things as woo-woo. Like when somebody says, Spirit showed up, Well, you know what? Spirit does show up. We have to begin understanding in the feeling nature of what we're doing here, that it is a felt experience, that when we focus our minds and we focus our intuition and we allow ourselves to be open channels, stuff happens. Stuff happens that changes our life in the most mystical way. But we have to be open to it, and we have to not think of it as something that is weird or something that is out of sequence or character. We are demonstrating spiritual law. When somebody heals, they are demonstrating spiritual law if they put in the co-creative practice and time to be able to do that. These are not things that are outside of our reach. Charles Fillmore, even in his day, says this: here is where Christianity has fallen short of doing the works. Where is the church today? Do you find one who heals the sick, opens the eyes of the blind, raises the dead, casts out demons? In other words, does the work of the Christ. And so I ask you here today, are each and every one of you ready to do the work of the Christ? Because, when he says, healing the blind, You could literally have somebody that blind that is now I see, but metaphysically, we're talking about someone who doesn't see the truth of their life, see the truth of their beauty, see the truth of their potential, and through the teachings and through the practicing of principle opens up to that mighty divine. That is healing. That is seeing. They were blind to who they were, to their lives, and they are seeing. Or someone who raises the dead. Y'all know The Walking Dead, don't you? Maybe some of us have been that. I know I was at one point before I joined Unity. That is what we're talking about. Expecting and knowing that this is real. That is not some crazy notion that we are here. Who is here to heal? Who is here to heal? We're not here to play games, y'all. We're not here to just talk cute little sentences. We are here to do a mighty work. This is why we are here. And so we have to believe in our bones that that is what we are doing here. As individuals and as a collective, we are doing the work of Christ. As I move to close, I just want to say one thing. Well, a couple things. Y'all know me. I want you to be wary of people who tell you they're healers. I want you to think about that one. And if some of us are in that space, maybe we need to adjust our verbiage a little bit, because we are all healers or none of us are healers. And by that, I mean to say that we all come in with that divine birthright to have that power within us. And so it's not some, it might be some that have cultivated a different toolbox, but it is not them who are healing you. It is you who is healing you. They may open up a space. They may hold the high watch. They may give you an adjustment of how to see or what to do, but it is your work. When you are ready, when your spirit is ready to do that work, that is when and how it rushes and it floods in and you have a healing or a demonstration or a manifestation. Be careful that in this new thought, in this time, we don't put our power in other people. Are we understanding this? Because this is crucial. Because you have people out there that will say, I'm a healer. I will do this. I will do that. And that is metaphysical malpractice. That is spiritual malpractice. I want to close with something that I think is important for me to share. And it's a letter that I received a couple months ago. And I'd actually forgotten about it, to be honest with you, until I was at the International New Thought Alliance Congress, and I was hearing a lot of things about people losing their chains and people becoming free. And there was actually even talk about people doing work in prison ministries. And all of a sudden I remembered that I had gotten a letter from an inmate. Now, you all may not know this, but I do get strange mail. Sometimes it's not stuff I want to read, and sometimes it's not so fun. But I decided I was going to read this one. And I want to share this with you and see what you get from this. Dear Reverend Christina, greetings and blessings to you. My name is blank. I'm an African American of 31 years of age who has been incarcerated in a Texas prison for 12 and a half years. I stumbled across your contact information in the International New Thought Alliance magazine. And as I was reading and flipping through the pages, I felt I wanted to get in contact with you. I'm a man who stumbled on his so-called journey of life, a man who truly knows and now understands the value and true meaning of life. And in a place like this environment where the vibrations are so low, it's very difficult to find like-minded individuals. I'm a very spiritual-minded man who believes in the science of mind, who comes from a Christian faith background as a child, who has always asked the question, why? I've always felt the pull from within that would always direct me in its guidance. And over the years, I've learned not to resist its command, but obey and follow for it to direct my steps. And as a man who has failed many times, I'm truly tired of losing, of poverty, of lack, and of all degrading experience. And I now claim peace, love, joy, happiness, and abundance. And as I flipped through the pages of this INTA magazine, I could sense the happiness that you and INTA resonates. I desire that same peace. All my life, I've been living a fixed belief, brought on through generations, and it has never brought me the peace that I am seeking to connect with. And I am looking for a place of worship where I can fellowship with my brothers and sisters as one divine mind. I've been separated from the whole for too long, and I no longer want to be separated, but I want to express the love that I have with others in unity. So I hope that your day is blessed and that the universe continues to prosper you and INTA in all that you do, and that these words reach your heart openly with love and care. Blessings to you sincerely, blah, blah, blah. What do y'all think of that? I want you all to understand this is a man who was literally in a prison. And yet, in the prison, he can understand his spiritual freedom in a way that some of us who are out here living a life of abundance and prosperity do not understand. And so it begs the question, and it is a reminder for all of us that that power is within, that we cultivate that power and that peace no matter where we are once we decide with our mind and our feelings that this is so. This man has decided after 12 and a half years of being imprisoned that he is no longer a prisoner. And so I share that with you today to also ask you all, are you ready to be the I am? Are you ready to do the work? And you already are. But what I'm asking you is, are you ready to claim it? You are the power. Are you ready to claim it? And I say that you are. I say that you're here because you are. I say that I know that deep down, there is something in you that has brought you here, that has brought you here online, that is telling you that you are more than your history, that you are more than your life as it is now, that you are more than the circumstances, that you are more than what the world has told you, that you are the living, breathing expression of the divine. And so we move and leave here knowing that we are connected in that spiritual inheritance and that nothing and no one can take that from you. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen.